Tori Franklin is a professional triple jumper representing Team USA. Her book, Anthem, facilitates an important conversation on mental health by taking you on an immersive journey through the highs and lows of her life and career. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I am joined by Tori Franklin, the author of Anthem. I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I read your book last week and I loved it and I recommend it to everybody. And to me, it's interesting because like when you write a book, you have to put it in a genre, like you have to put a hat on it almost. And I feel like with your book, it's so difficult to do that because it's like it's part memoir, it's part help book, it's part inspirational. And like I don't know how to describe it. How would you describe your book to readers?
hmm I completely agree with you, to be honest. When people ask me what it is, I'm like, it's a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And I kind of love that because I think it embodies me as a person. Like, I wear so many different hats, I'm doing so many different things. And I love that I'm able to show that in my writing and kind of give that to people in a way that can help them in many different planes.
Yeah, and so the way it's structured is you obviously the book is entitled You Anthem and it's broken down into 74 different anthems.
Mhm.
How would you describe like what exactly is an anthem in your perspective?
So we can start with the definition of an anthem, right? And an anthem is considered a song or a devotion of praise for something. I chose the word anthem because I want every single one that I write is a part of my story and it praises that part of my story within my journey. And the goal is for people to create their own anthem, the anthem for you, that is how you celebrate your life.
It's it's so interesting too because like your story is so unique to you, but it's so relatable and it provides such a space to be introspective and think about your own life. And I think that one thing I love, many things I love about your book, but I love how you are so vulnerable and willing to challenge the stigmas of mental health and be brutally honest about your experience. And right now the conversations are really getting much better regarding mental health, but for many people it's still so difficult to talk about it. So in your perspective as the author, was it challenging for you to kind of open up and talk about your experience in such a personal way?
Absolutely. Like sometimes I'm still looking back at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going live soon and everybody's going to read this
Hmm.
about me, you know? So there are still some moments where I get nervous. But as far as the writing process, most of them are journal entries that I had already written just specifically for myself. So the actual writing part of it was just me putting it all out there. When I had to go back and edit it and structure it into a book, it was difficult, more so knowing that other people were going to read my heart.
Yeah, and I think there has to be something very healing though about that, like getting it out there, and it's almost like a weight is off your chest. And I think, as an athlete, like you're an elite athlete, you're an Olympic athlete, and you know, there almost is this sense that people like yourself who are such amazing athletes are like superheroes, but through your writing, we're reminded that like mental illness and trauma, like they don't pick and choose your profession or your skill set. So,
Mm.
as an athlete, how do you think we can improve the way we talk about mental health with people like yourself or in other athletic fields?
hmm I think honestly, just creating a space for athletes to even do that. I don't think people, at least like in interviews, they don't ask those types of questions to give athletes the platform to do that. And then when athletes do create their own platform, say on social media, there's always those people that are like, coming at them in the comments or, just not always being very empathetic. to this part of the journey. So I think that for the general public, it could help just remembering that we are just people. And for people who are asking athletes questions, dive a little deeper.
Yeah, and I think too, when someone like you writes a book and tells your story, it kind of gives some confidence to other people who are, might have struggled as well and have been hesitant to talk about it. And I think a lot of it too, like we have to ask questions and, some people just have to be brave too and just tell their stories. And that's why it's but it's hard to do that. And it's so nice to see that like a book like yours was written that can get that conversation going.
Yes, it is hard. So you're absolutely right. It takes like a level of bravery and just wanting to be your absolute authentic self. And that's not easy for everybody to do. And I guess that is something I'm hoping that my book will encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, and with that, there are athletes who could relate to your book, but then there are people like me who like, I mean, I played sports, but like I work at a desk job, like there
Mhm.
are so many people who have similar experiences while living very different lives. So, have you been able to connect with other people in different ways around you through like getting your words out there and telling your story?
Absolutely. Like for me, it gives me more empathy towards other people having had my experiences. And then knowing that the words that I write identify, people are able to identify with them. It just makes our connection so much deeper, just right off the bat. Like I already know these people.
Yeah, and like going back to the process of writing a book, there's a lot of different ways for people to heal and like grow, but obviously writing is one of those outlets. And throughout this process of writing and publishing a book, how did that facilitate your own personal healing journey?
Mhm. Well, so writing the book, of course, was very therapeutic for me. It helped me to kind of look back at my experiences as an older, more mature, more experienced person and see how I've grown since then, see what lessons I've learned since then. So for me, it's been really eye-opening. As far as the process of publishing, that was more encouraging for the sense of like I can do this, I can get this done.
Yeah.
Because I went through the whole process of trying to find, like publishers, um, and who didn't believe that I had a big enough following and whatever the, other reasons were. And I almost didn't publish the book. So I'm very proud of myself for actually, finishing the process.
And that's the one benefit too of remaining independent and is that you could tell your story exactly as you want it and you don't have to be influenced by publishing houses that want to like rearrange your story in a way that'll sell. So it's completely
hmm
yours, and I think that makes it particularly special too.
hmm Absolutely.
Have you been able to, out of curiosity, connect with any readers or like what has it been like now being a published author?
Yes. So, well, it's still in the pre-sale for about another week. So I've had some readers because I did some giveaways and I'm still doing some more giveaways. And those readers have come back with very positive remarks. And that's just really lit up my whole heart. Um, and I'm really encouraged and happy that I'm getting such a positive response.
When did you like realize like I want to get this book out there? Like how did you always know you wanted to be an author and write a book? I mean, I know you're an athlete. Like what made you realize and when did you realize like this is something I want to do?
Right. With so much conviction, that wasn't maybe until the last few years. But when I was young, I've always journaled. I've always had a diary. I even went to school initially for communications because I wanted to write. Um, but I didn't have that same like belief in myself or that I could actually do it until maybe 2016, 2017 is when I wrote my first book. that never got published and never will be published because it's awful. But, I think all authors and writers have that journey where they write a book and they're like, this isn't it. I'm gonna write something else.
Right.
So, yeah, that was my journey, and I just knew I was writing this one, um, fiction book about Cuba, actually, and everyone kept asking me, "Oh, when's your book gonna be done? When's your book gonna be done?" And I was just so annoyed by it. So I started writing You Anthem, which was initially supposed to be just a little pamphlet. It was gonna be like 40 pages, but then my literary agent got a hold of it and was like, no, we need to write this. This needs to be something. And that's kind of just how all of that started. And that journey started in 2019 when I started writing You Anthem to be the book that it is today.
That's a long journey too. Some people when I ask authors that question, some are like, I decided like last year, but like for you, it seemed like it was something that like has been growing and building over time.
Hmm.
Have you been able to like, although you knew like this was something you wanted for many years, did you learn anything new about yourself throughout the entirety of this process?
Hmm. Well, for one, my writing has gotten so much better. I feel like I've really matured as a writer, and I think I'm still maturing as a writer and still trying to find that like real voice because there's so much more I want to write outside of the memoir and self-help aspect. Um, so I think, yeah, that's the main thing, just growing and maturing as a writer. Yeah, as a writer.
Yeah, and you have a very strong voice, and that's something that really stands out with your book. And it's one thing that's like you're never going to read another book like it because it's so personal. And I think that's one of the many reasons why I enjoyed it. And I feel like although this is like the first time we've met, it's great to like talk to you after reading your book because I feel like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
learned so much about you. And you know, for those who have yet to read your book and plan on reading it, what is something like you obviously are many things like as a person. What do you want readers to know about who you are?
Mm. I would say I want them to know that I know that in my book, there's there's a lot of emotional depth to it. Um, and there are moments of like my spiritual journey, but I'm not all serious, I'm super goofy and super playful. And sometimes that's hard to come across in writing. I'm not sure how you were able to interpret it, but I really just jump around doing silly things all the time. And I think that's an important part of my personality.
Yeah, and you totally get that. Like, and with writing, it is hard to like manage that like serious, like this is my journey, this is who I am. But I'm also like, I don't know,
Mhm.
it's not all business.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I loved your book, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to love it. I wish you the best with your publishing journey, and I just want to give you the final moments to share like anything you want readers to know, where they can reach you, social media channels, really anything.
Mhm. Of course. So first, something that I'm also really like big and passionate about right now is my nonprofit. It's called Live Happy Retreats. And so if anybody wants to learn more information about it, they can follow Live Happy Retreats on Instagram. Happy is spelled with two I's, just like my regular Instagram page, which is Live Happy, HAPPII. And that's where you can reach me and find out all about the things.
What is your nonprofit? I'm curious myself.
Okay. So I'm from Chicago, and so this is the city that I'm going to start in. But there are a lot of inner city kids that have never even had the opportunity to see Lake Michigan, which is like 3 miles north, if that.
Mhm.
And they're so caught up in the life here that isn't good. It's sometimes filled with a lot of, negative impacts that can guide their lives in not the best way. And so, what I want to do is give these inner city youth the opportunity to travel the world. Live Happy Retreats has a partnership with this resort in the Dominican Republic, and we want to take these kids there to develop mental health habits and emotional intelligence, to understand their deeper connection to their body, what they eat, how to move, as well as just recognizing that the world is so much bigger and there's so much more that they can do and accomplish with their lives, and just integrate it with another culture and with nature.
That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
I'll be sure to like plug that too in the blog article that we're doing with this. And I really think that's an amazing work. And it'd be cool to like, start with Chicago and grow to other cities. That's
That's the plan.
so meaningful. Well, thank you so much, Tori, for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you grow as an author and do amazing things in the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I loved it.
Remember to subscribe to our channel for more author interviews and self-publishing content.